Next up, House File 209, Representative Bonner. So I'm going to move that House File 209 be laid over for possible inclusion in the omnibus tax bill. Representative Bonner, to your bill.
All right. Thank you, Chair Gomez. Give me just a second to my presentation up here. All right. Thank you, Madam Chair and members. I do want to say a quick shout out and say thank you. You may notice we have a very distinguished audience today. So I want to thank all of our veterans for their service and for being here today in support of this bill. With that, we will get to it. Madam Chair and members, as you know, when the U.S. Bank Stadium and home of the Minnesota Vikings deal was struck, that deal included the use of charitable gaming taxes to pay down the state's portion of the stadium bonds. While revenues were initially off to a slow start, the growing popularity of e-pull tabs took off. With a minor dip during the pandemic, revenues generated came back strong. Opening a dream state we did not imagine possible, paying off our stadium debt early. Estimates put the savings to the state around $46 million, giving Minnesota a unique opportunity to do the right thing, the fiscally responsible thing, and pay off our debt early, and with the ability to free up funds for other potential purposes. The revenue making all of this possible came from charitable gaming revenues generated by paper and electronic pull tabs, as well as the traditional bingo and tip boards. The organizations doing this work do so for the express purpose to use the revenues for charitable work in our communities. A small sample in my region includes the great work of the Osseo Lions, the Osseo Maple Grove American Legion, the Osseo Fire Relief Association, Osseo Maple Grove Hockey Association, also known as OMGHA, and the Northwest JCs, as well as many, many more. These groups fund equipment for firefighters, they youth hockey programs, and everything from playgrounds to a plethora of charitable missions, making our communities a better place. That is why among the first bills I brought forward when I came into office was a bill to reduce the charitable gaming taxes and allow these great organizations to keep more money on their mission. While the tax bill was the bill was carefully crafted with stakeholders since its introduction, one thing has fundamentally changed. While the revenues generated continue to soar year after year in their growth, and the expenses of charitable gambling organizations have soared as well, leaving ever-shrinking margins to fulfill their charitable work. I think we would all agree the programs that funded these tremendous opportunities we now have before us to make fiscally sound decisions are now the very organizations that need our help to continue to help our beloved communities thrive. Members, I would ask you to join me in helping these incredible organizations to once again be leaders in our community and let us imagine the great possibilities and the difference they can once again make. And with that, I do have a testifier as well.
Excellent. Welcome to the committee. Please introduce yourself and go ahead with your testimony.
Thank you, Chair Gomez. Good afternoon. My name is Alan Lund. I'm the member and gambling manager of the Osseo Maple Grove American Legion. I'm here today to ask for your support of House File 209. We have one site for charitable gambling, which is our post home. Charitable gambling is an important tool that allows us to do even greater outreach in our community. Our patrons enjoy winning, but even when they don't, they know that the dollars that they have lost stay in our local community. Our priorities with the proceeds of charitable gambling are food insecurity, youth, and veteran active duty personnel. In calendar year 2022, we put over $200,000 to work in our community. Charitable gambling pays state gambling tax on our net receipts, which is sales minus prizes. We get no deductions of any kind on our tax liability. Over the years, our ability to serve has diminished. Our costs increase every year, but those increases can only come from one place, and that is our bottom line. We don't have the ability to adjust our prices due to inflation. If the $1 pull tab in 2000 had kept pace with inflation, It would sell for $1.75 today, but it still costs $1 in our post. In fiscal year 2022, we paid $250,000 in taxes and fees to the state. That represents 32% of every dollar that we deposit. The state is currently our largest benefactor of our fundraising efforts. House File 209, if passed in its current form, would lower our annual tax liability by roughly $30,000. That money would go directly into our community. It would be of great benefit to those that we serve. I again thank you for the opportunity and ask for your support of House File 209.
Thank you very much for your testimony, Mr. Lund. Are there, I have a couple other testifiers on the list.
We do. We have 2 additional testifiers, and I will add, Madam Chair, that Al is being very humble here, but he is the whole reason we are here. After approaching me 4 years ago with piles of spreadsheets, he clearly knew his data and his facts, and so I am grateful to him for being here today. And with that, we have Rachel Jenner. Sorry.
Excellent. Welcome to the committee. Please introduce yourself and go ahead with your testimony.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Rachel Jenner. I am the Executive Director of Allied Charities of Minnesota. We represent the licensed charities that conduct lawful gambling in Minnesota. First, I'd like to thank Representative Bonner for her support of charities and bringing forth this bill to provide us with tax relief. There are approximately 1,115 licensed charities who, as you've heard, are made up of veteran service organizations such as VFWs and American Legions, fraternal and civic organizations, youth sports, and a variety of other charities serving Minnesota. Last year, we paid $180 million in taxes to the state of Minnesota, which was our largest expense. And the taxes have been an ongoing concern because with progressive tax rates, each year that our revenue increases, our taxes also increase. Last year, our taxes increased 50% from the year before, and the same was true in 2021. As an industry, our average tax rate now exceeds 30%. So for a number of years, we have paid more in taxes than we've had available for donations, and this trajectory is one that appears to be continuing. The state is by far the biggest benefactor of the funds that we raise, and without significant tax relief, this will continue to be the case. So compared with the $180 million that we paid in taxes in 2022, our donations were $131 million, nearly $50 million less. In our local communities, these donations are providing countless programs and infrastructure that has no other funding. Many charities in small towns are the only ones with the funds to support the various requests that are arising. They're paying for extracurricular activities, a furnace for a family who's struggling financially, fire trucks, youth sports, hockey rinks, and updating playgrounds at local parks. They're also grooming the snowmobile trails that bring in tourism for their small town. There are many VFW and American Legions throughout Minnesota providing community space and veteran programs that would cease to exist without the profits of charitable gambling. We have become a vital part of Minnesota. So we are asking for reduced taxes in order to better fulfill these missions. We are seeing inflation, rising costs on all fronts, and the burden of our tax structure has many organizations worried about their future. The tax rates that we have now were put in place to fund U.S. Bank Stadium, and that obligation has been met. In fact, the state is now considering releasing the city of Minneapolis from their portion of the stadium funding because of the excess funds that we have contributed. So we would ask that you would reduce the taxes that we are paying and allow us to better serve our communities. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jenner. Next, we have one more testifier, if you'd come up. Welcome to the committee. Good to see you. Thanks. Please just introduce yourself as you're getting going.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, my name is Matt Toburen, he, him, Executive Director of the Aliveness Project, a community center for people living with HIV and AIDS. And we serve thousands of people living with HIV throughout the state with hot meals, food banks, supportive services to ensure people living with HIV can live long and healthy lives. We're able to provide these services and keep our doors open because of the revenue that we generate through our charitable gaming operations. Thanks to the many Minnesotans who come and play our pull tabs or go to our drag bingo nights we're able to raise these funds. And thanks to the Minnesotans who know, even if I don't win tonight, at least my dollar is going to go to support people in need. Unfortunately, what Minnesotans don't understand is most of that dollar doesn't actually go back to the charities. In the past year, Aliveness gave 25% of our net revenue to the state in taxes and fees. That means that we give more back to the state than we have to invest into our mission. And there's no business in the state of Minnesota that pays that level of tax. And as a result, we've paid back the Minnesota Vikings Stadium 20 years early. Thanks to the Aliveness Project, to the American Legions, we have paid that stadium back for you. And we're here today because we need help. We need your help. We have done everything that we were asked to do. We raised the revenue, we paid off the stadium, and now this session, you have a choice. You have an opportunity to reduce these taxes and to allow these funds to go back into our communities and to improve people's lives. And so we ask you today to vote in support of nonprofit tax reduction and the people that we serve. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tabirin, for being here. All right, 2-member discussion.
Madam Chair.
Representative Robbins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have an amendment.
Absolutely, yep. So you have, Representative Robbins, did you want to move your DE1?
Yes, I wasn't sure if that was the time, so I moved
Yeah.
the DE1. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Great. Yeah, please, to your amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. I hope that this amendment will be considered a friendly amendment. I have also been working on this issue, and basically it takes the combined tax receipts into a flat tax of 5%, and it would really help all of the charities keep more of their money, as we've already heard from the many great testifiers. And it also addresses the issue under the current structure, which is graduated, that as revenue goes up, your tax the payments increase. Under a flat tax, that would not be the case. So it would help people keep more of their money in their communities, which I know Representative Bonner and I have both heard from so many of our charities. So since my bill was not able to get a hearing, I wanted to offer this as a friendly amendment to hopefully let more money stay in the communities and help these local charities. In my district, and I know in Representative Bonner's district, some of these charities are on the brink of going out of business because they pay so much in taxes, and because they owe property taxes and they cannot use their gaming revenue for that. And I have a couple charities in my district that are on the brink of folding, so this would be a tremendous boon to them.
Thank you, Representative Robbins. We'll go to Representative Bonner and then to further member discussion. So Representative Bonner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And while I certainly appreciate the intent of this amendment, I must say that the bill before you, House File 209, has been carefully crafted over the past 4 years in collaboration and consultation with charitable gaming experts, the Gambling Control Board expertise, as well as a former tax chair. The amendment dropped last night at about 5 p.m., has not been vetted in consultation with my stakeholders or experts at this time. I also did not receive any communication from the author wishing to collaborate or discuss changes to the current bill. And for these reasons, I want to respectfully ask members to vote no on the DE amendment.
Thank you, Representative Bonner. Representative Robbins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I want to remember to ask for a roll call.
All right.
Thank you.
Representative Robbins has requested a roll call. There will be.
And to the point that Representative Bonner raised, we actually did meet once earlier in the session, and I heard you were working on this, and I asked to collaborate, and I never did hear back. But secondly, I have worked with charities on this throughout my district. I actually have 3 bills on this. One would zero out the charitable gaming tax. One has the flat tax of 5%. And then I have a third bill that also didn't get a hearing that would allow veterans organizations to use some of their charitable gaming as an allowable expense for improvements to their real property, because so many charitable veterans organizations are having trouble maintaining their property. And again, none of my bills were given a hearing, so this is my only opportunity to plead my case. So that's why I'm bringing the amendment. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, members.
All right. Representative Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to speak in favor of both the amendment and the bill in general. The taxes on these nonprofits, essentially, to me, are sort of outrageous and have been. And I know it was set up originally to pay off the stadium, but that's done. Nonprofits, by its nature, generally wouldn't pay income taxes because they're nonprofits. This is different in the sense of gambling. But we all know that Minnesota is one of just a handful of states that has our casinos in the state are essentially a monopoly, and they do not pay any income taxes. And yet we're asking our charities to pay up to 36% income taxes. And the charities are doing things that help our communities as a whole. So I want to just say thank you for bringing this bill, and I prefer Representative Robbins' amendment, but any kind of tax breaks we can give is good. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to say, you know, I'm uncomfortable with referring to a monopoly when the sovereign nations that share geography with this country or with this state to whom we have trust responsibilities have it as an economic development tool that has been reserved for them after the entire land base was taken. So just wanted to say that. Representative Pinto.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, just building on that, the comment was made about them not paying taxes, but I mean, they're separate sovereign. It's because sovereignty, right? So, you know, that's kind of how that works. So, thank you, Madam Chair.
Evelyn.
Okay.
Representative Joy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Bonner, this is a good bill. I mean, I think it's great when we can reduce the taxes on these charitable and stuff like that. In my community, our fire hall runs the pull tabs, and we bought a fire truck with our money. But last month, they paid $18,000 in taxes on theirs. I would, you know, as we talk about not having local sales tax or taking the options of that away, you know, we have to have somewhere to be able to have these groups fund these, and we got to quit taxing them, you know, because they do contribute to the communities. They do fire halls. They do all these things. You know, again, we look at it, the Viking Stadium's being paid off quick because of this. This is a great thing. I think it's great. I think Representative Robbins' her amendment's great. I had a bill too, and I think I signed on to hers to even reduce these more. I think it's important to take more and more of this and give it back to them so they can use it for our communities. You know, so again, I thank you, the author, for that, and I just think we need to continue working on dropping the sales tax rate for everyone. So, thank you.
Thank you. Representative Anderson.
You know, I was going to say something in dispute of what you said, but I'm gonna leave it because I think we have a big disagreement about that. There are many states where there are casinos that are way beyond tribal boundaries, and in many states, and there are states where tribal casinos pay income taxes. So it's different in Minnesota. It was set up, I think, under Perpich, and it's remained that way. And I would stand by my comment that there is a monopoly in this state, and they don't pay any income taxes. So thank you.
Okay, so we're going to go to a vote shortly. I do just want to mention that, you know, I guess I haven't usually seen a DE amendment on another member's bill, certainly in the tax committee like this, so it is unorthodox, but, you know, but here we are. I understand that, you know, this was, that you wanted to talk about your bill, and glad we've had a chance to have that conversation. Do you want to, just any last words? If we could just keep it pretty brief, though, we have a couple members who need to take.
Nope, I appreciate Representative Bonner working on this, and I do plan to support her bill, and I ask for support for the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. A roll call has been requested. Ms. Savis, chair votes no.
Chair Gomez, no. Vice Chair Norris.
No.
Vice Chair Norris, no. Lead Davids. Aye. Lead Davids, yes. Lead Representative Agbaje.
No.
Representative Agbaje, no. Representative Anderson.
Yes.
Representative Anderson, yes. Representative Brand, abstain. Representative Elkins?
No.
Representative Elkins, no. Representative Howard?
No.
Representative Howard, no. Representative Joy?
Yes.
Representative Joy, yes. Representative Koznick? Abstain. Representative Lee?
No.
Representative Lee, no. Representative Listlegard, excused. Representative Olson B, excused.
Oh,
Olson B.
Olson B.
Representative Olson L.
No.
Representative Olson L, no. Representative Pinto?
No.
Representative Pinto, no. Representative Robbins?
Yes.
Representative Robbins, yes. Representative Smith?
No.
Representative Smith, no. Representative Swedzinski?
Aye.
Representative Swedzinski, aye. Representative Weiner?
Yes.
Representative Weiner, yes. Representative Whitty?
Yes.
Representative Whitty, yes. Representative Youakim?
No.
Representative Youakim, no. There are 7 ayes and 10 nays.
There being 7 ayes and 10 nays, the motion does not prevail and the DE one is not adopted. To the underlying bill, House File 209, we're on member discussion. Representative Howard.
Chair Gomez, Representative Bonner, and I guess this might be a question for House Research. It was referenced to sort of the growing revenue being generated. I'm just curious if we have information on what's driving that. Is it paper pull tabs? Is it e-pull tabs? What's sort of the source of the escalating revenue?
I saw that Representative Bonner has her hand up. We'll let her go, and then if we need to go to House Research, we will. Representative Bonner.
I can tell you, thank you, Representative Howard. That's an excellent question. Initially, paper pull tabs used to be sort of in the lead for many, many years. But as we've seen year over year, electronic pull tabs have actually started to emerge as sort of the front runner that's really driving some of that increase as well. But you do see an overall trend where all forms of revenue have continued to grow. But that said, it's important to note that while they've generated almost $1 billion in revenue, that these organizations also paid $192 million in their receipts and only brought in a net profit of about $323 million. So there's a growing disparity in that equation. So that's why we're here today.
Representative Howard.
Thank you, Chair and Representative Bonner. That was my guess, and I know that the technology's been changing in that front in terms of the e-pull tabs piece, and so thank you. That's helpful.
Thank you. Representative Youakim.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and that was the question I was going to ask too, but I just wanted to thank Representative Bonner for years of work on this and collaboration, because that's sometimes what good bills take to get across the finish line. And yes, DEs being called friendly also annoys me and has been happening in my committee as well. So thank you for your work on this, and look forward to this getting in the final bill.
Thank you, Representative Youakim. Is there any other further member discussion before we go to Lead Davids? Representative Weiner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Although I would have liked the amendment, any cut in the charitable contributions from, or the charitable gambling taxes is a good thing. Our local legions, Lions rely on this money very heavily. And in discussions with them, any cut now is good. And I would hope that in the future we would look at another cut to help out these charitable groups. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Davids.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I support the Bonner bill. I think that the amendment would have made it better. I have a bill that is pretty much the same as the Robbins amendment. So I think we can do a little better, but that doesn't mean you don't support House File 209, which I do support. In 2017, the House position in the tax bill was to really lower the tax amount on charitable gaming so that the locals could keep more. That was in the House bill. It was the House position. As we move forward, I kind of ran into a buzzsaw with the other body because there were folks in the other body that made the argument that these entities were set up to raise money for the state, which I found interesting. I disagree with it, but I think it should be more raising money for the local charities. But that's what we ran into there, and so it was not in the conference report, which I have regretted because I think it should have been in the conference report, but woulda, shoulda, coulda, it wasn't. So we have a chance now to do the right thing here, and I'm very glad to support House File 209.
All right, Representative Bonner, any closing comments for us?
I want to thank the body here for their comments and encouragement, and particularly David's. This bill does represent a bit of a middle way. I've spent 4 years analyzing all of the proposals on both the House and Senate side, looking at what was reasonable, working with tax chairs, and probably driving poor Chair Marquardt crazy behind the scenes on this particular issue. But I will say that one good thing about this bill is it has generally had great support in a bipartisan fashion. In fact, some of its champions in the past, I will just read a very brief list, is Nelson, Limmer, Anderson, Anderson P., Detmer, Davids, Lucero, Nash, Kresha, Daniels, Swedzinski, Green, Albright, Franzen, McDonald, Bennett, Barr, Grossel, Gunther, New, Frank, Juergens, Marquardt, and Lilly, of course, among some of the bigger ones. But that said, at the end of the day, I think our lead Davids hit it on the head. This bill, we have had a tremendous opportunity in being able to do great things, in paying off the stadium early, to be in a place where we can save the state $46 million and pay off our debt almost 20 years early. And in that, we have generated about $1 billion a year, according to the February 2023 forecast, for the state, which is phenomenal. But if we look at the actual numbers, what we find is that in many cases, we have organizations paying more in tax than they're actually able to use on their mission, which was their actual intended purpose, right? To help serve our communities. And like Representative Joy, my community has a fire station in Osseo. They have some challenges in having funding with a lower tax base there, but folks have been able to step in, help make sure that they have respirators and equipment and the essentials that they need to do their job. And that story plays out in smaller communities and communities, frankly, across the state. So for that reason, I do hope that members will support this bill today and include it in the final bill.
Thank you so much, Representative Bonner. With that, I'm going to renew my motion that House File 209 be laid over for possible inclusion in the omnibus tax bill, and it is laid over.